Hi everyone, thanks for visiting my channel. I hope this finds you all doing well and hanging in there. Today we are going to be doing some canning. By the way, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Carol, the Thrifty Chic Housewife. For those of you who haven't subscribed or you're new, if you enjoy the content that you find on my channel, please consider subscribing, like and share my videos, and follow me on social media. I will leave the links in the description box for you below. So today we're going to do some canning. We are going to be canning up some peaches. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and in the all-new Ball Book of Canning, if you've been around my channel very much, you know that I love this book. We've canned a lot of things out of it. So today we're going to be doing sweet tea poached peaches. I have not tried them, in light of full disclosure, and I wanted to do something new for you, so we're going to try them together. It sounds really great. Who doesn't love peach tea in the summertime? So I thought we'd give the sweet tea poached peaches a try. That's what they look like. Sound delicious. And that's what we're going to be doing. If you do not groove on tea, or you don't want that flavor profile, the process is still the same for canning peaches. You can just do a syrup of your choice, and I will leave a link for making syrup to can your peaches in. You can also can them in water. That's totally fine as well. So one thing I do want to mention here, we are going to do this recipe as tested. I've had some questions from you guys about canning up peach tea concentrate or tea concentrates. I could not find any documentation that stated that that was safe, so I did contact our friends at Home Food Preservers Clark County. For those of you who are not following them on Facebook, and if you are on Facebook, I highly encourage you to join their group. They are lovely people and a great resource. It is run by certified master food preservers, and they're just great ladies. So I did contact one of them who is an admin for the group and asked her thoughts on that. She did reiterate to me that there is no tested recipe for canning tea concentrate, so we're going to do this recipe with caution. We're going to do it exactly as is, so please do not take this video to mean you can carte blanche just start canning things with tea or canning up tea concentrate. It's really important that we stick to this recipe. As a matter of fact, she did share with me that there can be food safety issues with tea, even brewing tea, in particular sun tea. So I'm going to leave that what she shared with me in the description box for you. I will leave a link to the safety issues with tea, just so you have that information. So again, we're going to stick to this recipe. This is by Ball. It is a tested recipe, and we're going to do it as is. We're not going to add or take away from the recipe. So now they are using, for this particular recipe, they are using just regular tea, but it does state that you can try a different tea. They suggest Earl Grey or jasmine for a flavor twist, but they do not put any stipulations on the type of tea that you can use. So seems like just about any tea would be fine that you enjoy, that you think would pair well with peaches. They say pack your peaches in fresh brewed sweet tea as a tasty alternative to plain water or sugar syrup. So that is what we are going to do. Recipe is supposed to make 5 pint jars, and we are going to be raw packing them. It is safe to either hot pack or raw pack. The method I'm going to be using today is raw packing. That is my preferred method, and it is the way this recipe is written. I know some people say that if you hot pack, you have less chance of your fruit floating and those kinds of things. Some people just prefer hot packing. Your processing time is a little bit different depending on which method you choose. I have not found the fruit float issue to go away with hot packing. That's just been my experience, so I always raw pack. It's just the way that I like to do it, and again, it is the way this recipe is written. So you can use the same method with just, like I said, water or sugar syrup if you do not want the tea, but I will show you how to make the tea syrup. You can get about 2.5 peaches in a pint jar. Their recipe called for 3.5 pounds of peaches. It's just going to depend on how big your peaches are. I like to have a little bit extra so that I can really fill my jars. So the first thing we need to do is remove the skins. And the way that we're going to do that is I have a pot of boiling water over here. We are going to blanch them for about 60 seconds until the skins start to curl. And then we're going to plunge them in cold water, peel them, pit them, and then we're going to keep them in another bowl filled with cold water and some lemon juice. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of lemon juice to the water that I'm going to hold them in so that they don't start to oxidize. You can also use fruit fresh. So let's get started. Okay, so like I said, we're going to use some lemon juice in the water. We're going to hold them in. I'm going to use bottled lemon juice. You can use a fresh squeezed lemon if you prefer. About a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, something like that. Put that in that water. I'm going to remove my lid from my boiling water. You are just going to take a paring knife and just do a little X on the bottom of your peach, just to kind of score the skin, and drop them in the hot water, or in your boiling water, not hot water. And I do 4 or 5 at a time, depending on their size. Do this on a fairly high heat because we want to keep it boiling. And then just keep watch for the skin of the peaches to start to curl. Okay, once your skin starts to pull away from your peach, you can go ahead and put them in your cold water. Let them cool down a little bit. And then what I do to keep the process going is I go ahead and add 4 or 5 more peaches to my water so they can be doing their thing while I'm peeling the other ones. Okay, once it's cool enough for you to handle, I just take a paring knife and the skin will just slide right off. Okay, once you get the skin off, I just cut it in half. You can quarter it if you prefer, and just pull it apart and stick it, pull out the pit and stick it in your lemon juice water to keep it from oxidizing. Let them sit while we do the rest of them. Okay, so I have the peaches all done. Just a couple of things that I just want to bring to your attention. You do not want to use overripe peaches. You want to make sure that they're ripe, but you still want them to be firm. And some varieties can better than others. I'm not sure what variety these are. We picked them up when we were in Amish country this past weekend, and all she knew was that they were Freestone. So I'm not sure the variety, but I think that they should be fine. But just know that some peaches will can better than others. And then the other thing I wanted to point out, as you're preparing your peaches, obviously if you come across any bad spots, make sure you cut that out. But just want to bring those 2 things to your attention. So now we are going to make our sweet tea syrup. So what we're going to do is, according to Ball's directions, they want you to bring 3.5 cups of water to a boil, and then you're going to add your tea bag. Their instructions are to add 4 regular size tea bags. I have the family size tea bags. So I'm just going to add 1. That's the equivalent of 4. Once it comes up to a boil, you're going to turn off your heat, put in your tea bag, cover it, and let it steep for 15 minutes. And then after the 15 minutes, we're going to go ahead and add our other, we're gonna add some honey, a little bit of lemon juice, and also some sugar. You can use all honey per Ball's instructions. It's fine to use all honey if you prefer. So I'm gonna get this up to a boil and get my tea steeping. I'm also, since I wanted to fill my canner, this recipe only makes 5 pint jars. My canner will hold 8. So I'm going to just can up the other 3 jars using a light syrup. And to make my light syrup, I'm going to be using 2 1/4 cups of sugar to 5 1/4 cups of water, and you're just going to bring that to a boil as well. So I'm going to make my light syrup and my tea syrup. Once my tea is done, I will bring you back. Okay guys, our tea has been steeping for 15 minutes. So now what we need to do is get rid of the tea bag or tea bags. And to our steeped tea, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. The recipe does not stipulate fresh or bottled. Anytime it does not say use fresh or that you can use fresh, always defer to using bottled lemon juice. So I use 3 tablespoons of bottled lemon juice. We're going to add a cup of sugar, and we're also going to add 1 cup of honey. And like I said, the recipe, Ball did say that you can use all honey if you prefer. So we're going to give that a stir. I'm going to bring that up to a simmer, make sure the sugar is all dissolved. And then while that's happening, I'm going to get my canner and my jars ready, and we'll be ready to start our canning process. Okay guys, we are all set for canning. I brought my syrup up to a simmer and made sure all the sugar was dissolved. So we are ready to go. Modern canning guidelines state that if you're going to be canning for 10 minutes or more, you do not need to pre-sterilize jars and lids. So I just washed my jars. I'm keeping them hot. Even though we're raw packing, you still want to use a hot jar. So I have them in my sink full of very hot water. My lids I just washed, rinsed really well, and sat aside. So we are ready to get started. So I'm going to start with 2 jars. Okay, so we're ready to pack our peaches. So what we want to do is you want the cavity side to be down. And this can be tricky because they want to slip and slide around your jar. So I find that it's easiest to just use very clean hands to make sure that they are in there correctly. And we are looking for 1/2 inch headspace. You want to pack them fairly tightly. This one's going to be too big to get our 1/2 inch. Okay, so once you pack your peaches to 1/2 inch headspace, we're going to go in with our syrup and ladle it over our peaches, again to 1/2 inch headspace. Use a debubbling tool or use a plastic butter knife or a chopstick to release your air bubbles. Just kind of go around your jar. And your headspace may change a little bit, and I think that that's still too much for that jar. So I'm going to take him out altogether. And you can tell it's wanting to float a little bit. So I take we're gonna need to wipe the rims of our jars. So I take a paper towel dipped in white vinegar and go around the rim of your jar. After you clean the rim of your jar, you're going to go ahead and center your lid. And then we're going to apply our bands to fingertip tight. I have 3 quarts of simmering water in the bottom of my canner. And my rack is in there as well, so we're gonna go ahead and place the jars on our rack. Okay guys, I had enough syrup and peaches to get 7 jars of the sweet tea poached peaches. I had enough syrup to do 7 jars. So I don't know, the recipe said 5, I got 7. And then I had room for 1 more jar, which I did just the regular syrup in. The other thing I wanted to mention, what I did find when I was doing this, my peaches were pretty large. So I found that they packed a little bit better if I quartered them. So I would recommend quartering your peaches if they're very big. In the past, I usually do halves and they work fine. But this time these peaches were pretty big. So if you have pretty big peaches, you'll be able to pack them better to that 1/2 inch headspace if you quarter them instead of leaving them in halves. They just fit in the jar a little bit better. So my canner is full. So we're going to crank up our heat and put on our lid. I am going to be steam canning. Now, we're doing fruit, it's a high acid food, so you can either water bath can or steam can. If you've been around my channel very much, you know that since I discovered steam canning a little over a year ago, I have fallen in love with it. I like it because it doesn't take nearly as much water, which means it eliminates some of your time of bringing all that water up to a boil. I'm going to be steam canning. If you're water bath canning, make sure water covers your jars by at least 1 inch. So you're going to start your canner you want your canner to be about half full of simmering water with your rack in it when you start. I only needed 3 quarts of water because I'm steam canning. So anyway, we're going to put the lid on. I'm cranking up the heat to high. We want to get it to a full boil for water bath canning. If you are steam canning, I have a gauge on the top of mine that tells me when it's up to temperature. If you do not have that, you want a steady stream of steam about 6 inches long, 4 to 6 inches long, coming out of your steam vents, and you want to make sure the water in the bottom of your canner is boiling, and that's how you know to start timing. I know there have been some questions about using this canner that has the dial gauge on it. I do want to put your fears to rest, and you can check this out on, you can Google it, or I'll try to link it for you in the description box. Elizabeth Andress, she is now the head of the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and she is the one who did the research for steam canning. Her observation was that the canners with the gauges are accurate, but if you are concerned about that, and I know a few of you are because you've shared that with me, like I said, you want to make sure the water in the bottom of your canner is boiling and you have a steady stream of steam about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches coming out of your steam vents. So hopefully that will put some of those fears to rest. I've had no problems with my canner. When I see those 2 things happening and I'm within the green zone, which is the go zone for starting to time. So I don't have any reservations about using the gauge on my canner, but it's always good to have those checks and balances and know what those are. So we're going to bring everything up to temperature and then we will start timing, and when we get there I'll bring you back. Okay guys, we are up to temperature. If you are water bath canning, like I said, you want a full boil. I am in my go zone. I have a steady stream of steam coming out of my steam vents and my water is vigorously boiling in the bottom of my canner. So we can start timing. We want 25 minutes because we raw packed. If you would hot pack, it would be 20 minutes for pints. So what we're going to do is start our time. You also want to adjust your heat so that it is not boiling too vigorously. You want to maintain a full boil, but you don't want it boiling so vigorously that it wants to boil your lid off of your canner. Okay guys, we're back and our processing time is up, so we can turn off our heat and we can go ahead and remove our lid. I'm going to make sure you remove it away, tilt it away from you. You don't want to give yourself a steam facial or get burned. If you are water bath canning, you are going to let your jars sit for 5 minutes. Steam canning, you do not have to let your jars sit in the canner for 5 minutes. You can if you want. It's not going to hurt anything, but you do not have to. I did confirm that with Elizabeth Andrus again, and I do have a copy of the email from her that says that you don't need to do that. If you're interested in that, you can find that on my Facebook page. I did do a post regarding that. I might try to put it on my community tab, and maybe I did do that. I'm not sure, but I did get confirmation from her that you do not need to wait the 5 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our peaches. Okay, I'll give you a close-up. You can see how beautiful they are. That tea syrup was just delicious. I tasted it. It was fabulous. Really, really good. But they look just beautiful. Okay, so now you're going to let your jars sit undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. Make sure you check your seals, remove the bands, wash your jars and label them and store them in a cool, dark, dry place. If you do not have the all new Ball Book of Canning, I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of fun recipes in it. Like I said, I do can from it frequently. Lots of great ideas that are kind of more modern recipes instead of the same old, same old. So it's a great resource. I will also link it for you in the description box below. As always, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them for me. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, guys.